The feedback on the recap channel has been awesome so far. You guys have been loving the recaps, and that's why I will not slow down. I'm just gonna keep them coming. And I must say thank you so much to every single person that keeps on coming back to watch the recaps once they have been uploaded. So far we've been uploading recaps 3 times a day, 11 a.m., 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. 3 recaps are a daily, and you guys keep returning to watch the recaps. Thank you so much. And I have to say thank you so much to everyone that has hit the subscribe button, because you guys are helping me to get to 100,000 subscribers on the recap channel, and I can't do it without you, right? So if you click the subscribe button, thank you. If you're not click it yet, click it right now. Let's get into today's recap. Alright, this lady right here is talking about her husband who she got married to, and it was like a roller coaster. You know, it went from one problem to the next. He was a cheater, and his family was like, it literally made her life a living hell according to her. But you know something, family, let me not tell you about the story, or you can just listen to it exactly as it was shared on Unstoppable Live. Take a listen.
Okay, my story is somewhat bad with a good ending. Okay, and my reason for presenting this story is in hopes that it will help somebody else in their life or with whatever they're going through. So here goes. I was born in Jamaica, in one of the worst ghettos in Jamaica, but I was not a part of the ghetto. I don't know if that makes sense. My father always had a job. He refused to have my mother work. He we had everything that we needed. I was never ever short of anything. The first time I knew what it meant to be hungry was when I moved to the United States. But my father, as being a great provider, he was also strict, and he was strict with us, but he was mentally and verbally abusive to my mother. She was like 10 years younger than he was, and he actually treated her more like a child. My mom would just sit and cry, and I would get so upset that she's allowing him to treat her that way, and all she's doing is crying. I guess he started off by having 2 different relationships, because I have one sister who is 13 months older than me, and the other one is 4 months younger than me. Then he went on to have 5 more kids with my mother. He did some things to her that to this day I cannot even like bear thinking about them. And I was young, but I could see what was going on. Okay, and I vowed never to be with a man like my father. One quick story, I remember one Sunday my mom cooked fish and rice and peas, and we always had our vegetables and our salad. And before, as she would cook early, and then we would all have to be together to eat. So he called her and he told her, "Oh, I'm sending you to my brother's house to go get something." Meanwhile, he had his girlfriend come in and share the fish dinner with her, to the point when my mom came home, there was nothing for her to eat. I love my father to death, but I love my mother even more. And I said I would never be with a man like that. But guess what? I ended up with the same abusive, verbally, physically, and mentally abusive person, even though I knew better. Okay? I was like the first person to pass common entrance in my community. I wanted to go to nursing school, but I graduated high school at 16. So I could not go into nursing school until I was 18. Then my dad died and I got a boyfriend, and of course I got pregnant. So now I could not go to nursing school at all. But I went to teachers college, left teachers college, didn't really like teaching, went to work in one of the major banks in Jamaica. And then I got tired of that and I decided I was migrating. I came with my son, who at that point was like 9 years old. And he was there for the summer, and then I sent him back and I stayed to try to get things together. Okay. I ended up in like a number of living jobs. My birthday is in November. So this November was like the first time in my life to be away from my family. And I was so depressed. So I called my cousin who lives in Maryland, and she said, "Oh, I'm in New Jersey." And she told me how to get to her. So I left and I went there. She had her boyfriend's brother pick me up at the bus station. And it was on from that point. We never really got into like a relationship at that point. You know, we just started talking, never really like spent time together. But in December, I went to Jamaica, and I happened to call him, and he's like, "Oh, I can't wait for you to come back." So of course I got home, and I'm saying to my mother, "Oh, I need to go home." And she's like, "What are you talking about going home? This is home." No, 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 no. No, I have a man to go home to. So I need to like go like right now. So I left next week to come home. Well, to come back to the United States. Okay. I was living in Queens at the time. He was living in New Jersey. And I was living like pretty close to the airport. He picked me up, and he decided he wasn't dropping me off at my house. He was taking me to his home in another state. So I called my job. They said, "Oh, we didn't know that you were coming back. So we had somebody working, but the person will just work up until that Sunday, and then you can come back." Okay. So I decided, well, I was going to stay with him, which was what he intended. During that time, I noticed that he would be getting a number of calls, and he would not answer the phone. They would call on his cell phone, then they would call on the house phone, and it went on like for the entire time I was there. So the Sunday, he took me back to work. And apparently the person who was calling him, I found out later, was his girlfriend. So when he dropped me off, he went to pick her up. But I had folded my nightgown and put it under the pillow and left it there. So of course she found it. He called me and he said, "Oh, I know you left your nightgown here to get me in trouble. And now my girlfriend found it." And I'm like, "You're what?" I said, "Yes, yes, my girlfriend found it and she's mad, and I'm going to give her your number to call you. And you need to tell her that there's nothing going on between you and I." So I'm like, "There's nothing going on between you and I." So I don't have a problem telling her that. She did call, and she wanted to know what was going on with us. I said, "Well, I came back. I didn't have a place to stay, and he offered to have me stay at his place until I was able to go back to work." She went on to tell me that she doesn't really want him because she have a boyfriend in Jamaica, and she's just holding on to him until he comes back up. Okay. I did not speak to him until for about a month and a half. I didn't speak to him. So, like the day before Valentine's Day, he started calling me of the next year. Did not answer. He turned up at my job, and he decided he was going to sit outside until I either spoke to him, or the people I'm working for, they would come home and find him there, and he would tell them that I invited him there. I know you're all saying, "Oh, these are red flags." And of course, I saw them, but at that point, I ended up like totally ignoring these red flags. So we got back together, but it was more because now I know that he has a girlfriend. So it was more like friends with benefits. We would talk every day whenever, like some weekends, instead of going home, I would go to his house, and I would spend the weekend there. So eventually I left that job, and I was now in a job in the state where I actually live. I We continued to talk, and a gentleman came to me one day and said, he has a friend who wants to do a business marriage. And he knows two of us, but he's given me the first opportunity to do it. And if I don't want it, then he'll give it to the other girl. So I was like really excited, and I called him and I'm telling him, that, oh, can you imagine this is going to happen? And he got mad and he's like, why would you do that? Why do you do that? And I'm here. I'm like, you're here. You can't marry me. You belong to somebody else. And he's like, no, no, because she just told me that she has a boyfriend in Jamaica and he's coming up. So she can't talk to me anymore. I decided I really didn't want to be with you and I was not going to marry you because I just wanted to do my business and get on with my life. I didn't want to be like stuck with anyone. But I remember I had gone home that weekend and my mom and my brother and my son was there. He started calling and he would not stop calling. He would call and I'd answer the phone and he would just sit on the phone. And if I didn't answer, he would keep ringing. So my mother said, what's going on? So I told her what was happening. Her position was, why do it with someone you don't know when you could do it with this person who you do know? Like, thought about it for a while and finally decided I was going to go ahead with it. Okay. So I started planning for this wedding. I started paying for everything. The only thing he got was the ring, but I was okay with it because I wanted to get married. I wanted to be able to get on with my life. So he 2 weeks, he kept saying, I kept asking him if he told his family that we were getting married. And he's insisting that he doesn't want to tell them. He doesn't want to tell his mother and he doesn't want to tell his brothers and sisters because he knows exactly what they're going to say. Because they're going to tell him not to marry them. Okay. 2 weeks before the wedding, he called. See, I told you I didn't want to tell my mother, and I tell my mother now. I know she's upset with me and telling me not to get married. I was totally devastated because this is 2 weeks before the wedding in place at this point. I call my mom and I'm crying and she's like, it's just leave it alone. It is what it is. So like a couple of days later, he called back and he said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. Okay. On the day of the wedding, he was 4 hours late for the wedding. First of all, I couldn't phone. I kept calling. He wouldn't answer the phone. Finally, he answered and he said, oh, he's stuck in traffic. I later found out that the girl he was seeing, they all work at the same place. And he apparently stopped at the job for whatever reason. I don't know. She saw him all dressed up. He said, oh, he was going to his friend's wedding. And she wanted to know why she was not going with him. So she held on to his skis and wouldn't allow him to leave. Eventually, he got to leave. We got married. After the wedding, I went back to his state with him. It was like maybe 45 minutes between the two states. So I went back to his state with him for the weekend. I still kept my... Okay. I found out in September, just before we got married. In October, I found out that I was pregnant. So the day before Christmas Eve, now we got married on December 1st. So at this point, we have not even been married for a month yet.
So I'm curious. Let me ask you. I'm curious to find out, right? When you went into this marriage, was it for love? Because I'm listening and I'm hearing business. You wanted to get sorted out. You wanted to get your life together. And now I'm also hearing baby in the picture. So I'm trying to figure out, was it for love or was it to get yourself sorted out and to get straight or whatever? Which was it?
We were in a relationship. We were we were sexually active. And like I said, it was more like friends with benefit. But by the time we decided we were going to get married, at this point, we were in a full-on relationship.
So was the
So
baby a planned thing or it just happened?
no, no, the baby was not planned. It just happened.
Okay.
Okay. And I think a part of the problem is because at this point, my son is like 10 years old, going on 11. And my plan was that he was supposed to be an only child. So I was totally devastated that I was pregnant. So, but I decided, well, it's there. What's going to happen? I might as well just go through with it. So the day before Christmas Eve, it would have been like the 23rd of December, I was at work and I started bleeding. I was supposed to have gone home at the end of that day for the holidays. Now, my son at this point was living here, and he was here. I left him at home with my brother. So my mom was living in the state as well, but she lived somewhere else. So the 23rd, I started bleeding. I started calling him, and he would not answer the phone all day of the 23rd. The 24th, I'm still bleeding. I'm in the house. It's not like where I am, I could grab a bus. I could get a taxi, but it's like, I don't want to take a taxi in this situation and go to the hospital by myself. So I finally called his sister, and his sister got in touch with him, and he came over, took me to the hospital. By the time I was released from the hospital, it was now Christmas Day. He took me back to my place. When I got there, my brother left to go to my mother, so I was there alone with my son, with no food in the house, nothing to eat, nothing at all. And he left me there with my son and went back to where he was living. Okay. Lost the baby eventually. And with losing the baby, I kind of got like depressed because it was when I realized that I had actually lost the baby, it was at a point where I was like really getting to accept the fact that I was pregnant. We went on, it was like on and off. He started seeing this girl, the same girl from before. He started seeing her again. And he would come over to where I'm working, and he would like spend the night there, and he would leave, or he would come and spend the weekend if I am not going off for the weekend. That to July next year, I became pregnant again. And I was working like a lot of hours. I'd work sometime like for 4 weeks. I would not come off. And by this time, where I was working, my son was there living with me. So we had like really like no bills. And I was making extra money from staying there all the time. So I was basically like just putting my money in the bank. So at 7 months, I decided to stop working and basically move in with him at this point. I got there, and he was living in like a family house with all his siblings, his mother and his aunt. I got there, and my life was a living hell. These people treated me so badly. His one sister was okay with me because basically she would come home from work, and I would have dinner ready for her and him. So we were cool. The first time he hit me was in front of her, and I was 8 months pregnant at the time. I basically took my stuff up, went to the bathroom, and I was determined that I was going to leave at that time of the night. Somehow I was going to find my way to my mother in the other state. His sister came into the bathroom and she's like, she never, what got to me more than anything else is that she said to him that he was wrong. Okay? She came upstairs and she said to me, what are you doing? And I said, I'm taking a shower and I'm putting my clothes on and I'm going to my mother. She said, no, you shouldn't do that. I said, no, I'm not going to take this. I don't need to take this. And she's like, oh, just don't give up on it now, just stay and get your pay. I eventually moved out of the family house. Now, when I got there, they were supposed to be paying rent to the aunt. He was owing her how much money for rent. And now she is coming down on me because basically he has moved me into the house. So what I did was to pay up the back rent that he had. His car was it was behind and they were gonna come and repossess it. And a friend of ours who worked with the company called and told us that they were coming to repossess the car. So I had to get the money together and pay off what was owed on the car. I took care of everything that I needed for my baby. Okay. So eventually we moved into our own place. Now he had a job that was paying him $200 a week. The rent was $600. So basically, eventually my money ran out and we had to be surviving on the $200 for, I think we had to pay light, phone, food, but somehow I made it work. Now, we move into our own place. What he is doing is leaving on the weekends. So this is the point where now I have a young baby and an 11-year-old, and he would work that money, that $200, and he would leave with it that weekend. So next thing I have to be worrying about, how am I going to pay the rent? Because this might have been the money to back up the rent. Okay. We had no food. And like he would do it this weekend, then the next 2 weekends after that, he would give me the money. But as soon as I was finished cooking the dinner on Sunday, he would pack the dinner up and take it to her. So I got to the point where, I'm so over this. I really don't want to do this anymore. But every time I got to that point where I'm saying, I don't want to do this anymore, he would start being nice to me. Eventually, I got my papers. I started working as a nursing assistant. And then we sat down, we talked about it, decided that I was going to go to nursing school, get my associate degree. And then when I was finished, he would go back to school and to get some type of career. Because he was one of those people who, they basically push him out of high school with not very much to show for it. And we were often in situations where he would say stuff that would be totally embarrassing. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. You let me finish. I'll take care of everything while you go to school. Of course, I got done. And during the time that I was in school, the abusive behavior continued. I bought a car because by the time I was in school, after 6 months of being in school, he lost his job. So basically, he would use my vehicle to drop me off at school in the morning. And then school is finished. I need to come home so I can get to my job for 3 to 11 shift. And he would be nowhere. I can't get him on the phone. A lot of times I had no money, so I had to just walk home and then catch the bus, because I might have the money for the bus, but not enough to take 2 buses. Change drastically just before I graduated from nursing school. He turned into the sweetest. For graduation, he made me the biggest party. I found out that his sister actually told him that he should leave me before I finish school, because when I finish school, I am gonna leave him. And he got on her and he's like, oh, I'm tired of you people picking on her, which was the first time that ever happened. Because what would happen, he would go be with them, they would trash me, and then he would come home and take it out on me. Okay. So had a nice time. I started my job as a nurse and, eventually got a job. But he got a job at a hospital in the housekeeping department, which was like a feeding ground, because he went from one woman there to the next. And I would find out about this woman. So he would leave her and move on to the next one until I found out about that one, the next one. And it continued like that. Now, we have had people come up, oh, my wife won't give me sex for how many months or whatever. That was never, ever a problem in my house. Because if he said, stand on your head, stand on my head. It didn't matter. I made sure that that was available to him at all times. But it was never enough, because it's like the more I did, is the more he would go out.
But question for you.
And then
Question for you. If you kept finding out all these things, right? Why did you stay? I mean, what was your reason for staying? Because you said it was like a playground for him, and you found out all these things. Why did you stay?
First of all, I always thought that when he said, I am not going to do it again, that he meant it. That was me justifying things in my head. Okay. Then at this point, we had 2 children, and I really did not want my children growing up in a broken home. Again, yes, I know that that was not the best thing for the children, but at the same time, I tried my best. I would cry, and he would come home and he would tell me how much he's sorry. And I would accept that. And I would everything would be okay for maybe a month or 2 months. And then all the things start happening again. He would have these women calling him at the house while we are in bed together. Okay. So let me backtrack a little bit. Remember I said that we had made the plan that I was going to go to college, and then when I was finished, he would go. So I finished with he's like, putting it off, till he finally said to me, oh, well, nobody now make me go back and no school. So I said, okay. We had started looking for a house, because at this point, we had adopted a baby girl. So now we had 3 kids. So it caused a strain on the relationship, because I felt like I was like putting too much into it and it wasn't worth it. So that, more than anything else, was just causing a problem. So I decided, let's go to counseling, see if we can get somebody to work through this with us. We went and I explained to the woman what my problem was. So she asked him, where do you see yourself in 2 years? He said, a 2-story house with a driveway and a black Maxima park in the driveway. So she's like, and how are you going to get that? With his thumb, he said, she? I'm like, okay. So that is your plan? No, that's not going to work. And I ended the session and I decided I'm not looking for any house. However, I eventually went out by myself, found a house, and bought it on my own. I told him I got the house the day I was going to the closing. So now we move into this nice big house, and he went around telling everyone that, oh, we bought a house. Okay. However, if I needed anything done on the house, and his brothers were builders, and I would ask them to do it, he would go behind me and tell them not to do anything on my house because it is my house. Okay. Things went on, the abuse, the verbal, physical abuse continued until my daughter was just beginning to talk. And we were driving past this apartment building, and she started jumping up in the car seat and saying, "Daddy, daddy, daddy." So I'm like, "Where is he, daddy?" And I'm looking and I'm like, why is she saying that her dad is not talking? Didn't pay it any attention. It kind of bothered me. I even said it to my mother. I was like, I can't understand why she would do that. Another time I left the kids with my mom. I was supposed to be at work, but I took them over there, and then I'm driving back to work and I'm running late. So by this time, I should already be at work. I drove past the building, and who do I see coming out of the building? But my husband. So I pull over and I'm like, "What are you doing here?"
Alright, so if you want to hear what his response was when she asked, "What are you doing here?" click the link in the description. It will take you on over to Unstoppable Live, the exact video, so that you can listen to what his response was and listen to the rest of the video in its entirety. While you're over there, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well and turn on all notifications so that you do not miss us when we go live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And while you're there, you can participate in the call-ins and give your opinions on whatever topic you're listening to. Hit the subscribe button right here on the recap channel as well, so that once we drop a recap, you do not miss it. Cause like I said, you are gonna help me to get to 100,000 subscribers on the recap channel. That's where I'm heading. Alright, until the next Unstoppable recap, stay strong, stay motivated, but most of all, remain unstoppable.
Unstoppable.